Okay, so there's something going on in the coaching industry, and I had to make a video about it. And this is what I'm going to title it as the delivery arms race that is going on in the coaching industry. This is driving every single coach and online consultant down deeper than the fucking bikini bottom. And what I mean by this is there are so many bad coaches out there that they are differentiating themselves or they think they're differentiating themselves because they're offering more deliverables than the next person beside them, right? So we have the first coach here that is starting off and offering people 6 calls a month to justify the cost. And then coach B here realizes what coach A is doing, sees that they're printing, and then what they're going to do is instead of thinking about value, they just add more deliverables to justify the price that they charge. So now instead of 6, they're going to charge 12 calls plus a community so that they could get all the students that were going to sign up with coach A. And then we have coach C here that notices what coach B is doing, and they're going to offer even more, which means they're going to do 18 calls in a month plus the community aspect and also create a 40 course video module, right? I want you to understand that theoretically they are offering more, but that offering more doesn't automatically equate to giving more value to the customer. And I'll touch upon that later on in this video. And then we have this last coach, which doesn't care about their own lifestyle, and all they do is say that the students can reach out to them whether they're sleeping, eating, shitting, whatever, right? And these are the worst types because not only will you hate your life miserably, but you're also going to disappoint your students. And those are the types of people that had this much expectations and are going to make videos about you, calling you a scammer because this is the level of output that they got. So let me get quickly into how I came up with this perspective. So initially, this is one of my clients here. If you watch a lot of my videos, I talk about him a lot just because he is probably the best case study I have transparently. And it's a lot of small variables that I've noticed after working with him that I now know what to look out for. And I just realized too, when I put it on Miraboard, I am featured on his page or like picture here. But this is, let me break this down. He is so good because the offer itself and the niche is so untapped. Nobody else is doing coaching for software engineers. A lot of the regular coaches that you'll see online, they make videos for your average 18-year-old or whatever that wants to make the first 10K per month, or your typical sales coach, or somebody like offering to scale your agency to X amount of revenue per month. But what I've noticed is nobody's actually going out and solving other people's problems outside of this sphere. And so hence why this offer just rips, right? But then this guy here, I won't drop his name. In a previous video I have, but he is essentially trying to copy the exact same thing we do based off the videos, the offer. But there are a few things that I'm assuming he's not smart enough to realize the details that we're doing, and he's just copied all the wrong parts, right? In fact, he thinks he's doing the same thing, but in actuality, he's not. And he thinks he's trying to be smart because he's charging $400 for the same thing we charge $15,000 for. And let me break this down. And so this is landing page. This is what caught my attention and prompted me to make this video. So in his landing page, he has an FAQ section. And the question is, will I actually get Carol's attention, or am I just another face in a group? And his answer is, you're not handed off to a hired coach or thrown into a group of and forgotten. You work directly with Carol, group calls where he's teaching and advising in real time, plus an optional one-on-one slot when you need eyes on your specific situation. This is the exact thing most programs fail to deliver. He thinks that offering more to these students is what's going to make his offer valuable. But he's completely missed the point here. At the end of the day, you have to realize that students aren't buying you as the coach for your time. That's not what they're buying. You think most people think that that's what they're buying, but it's not them buying access or exclusivity to you. So this is the problem. Everybody has a generic offer, and that every coach within that industry seems like a commodity to the viewer's perspective. And so when you're viewed as a commodity and there's nothing differentiated, Alex Ramosi talks about this all the time, but people are going to compare you by the price, right? And that is either going to go sinking your price and the ability to charge and your price elasticity down to the bikini bottom, like I joked about, or you just have to add more value to justify the cost, which then leads you to being miserable with your life because you're just working all day. And then since you're working all day, your students aren't getting any results. And now the biggest thing I want to focus on is this value part. Lots of you guys watching this video, if you're a coach or consultant, you might think doing more for your students is perceived value. But in this video, I really want to break that myth and show you that you don't need to do more to give more value. Okay. And so this is what I call the delivery arms race for coaches. You promise more than the next coach or your competitor beside you, and both of you guys are just going to be miserable instead of you loving your life while the other coach hasn't figured this out yet and is hating their life. Okay, so let's get into this. Okay, if you click off this video right now, the only thing you have to take away from is that you have to reverse engineer from action, right? Like, you have to understand your job as the coach realistically is somehow prompt or train your students to take action to get the intended results that they are wanting. Okay. So how does this look like, right? You're giving advice as the coach for your student to take the action because you have to take the actions to get that result that they're wanting. That's some reason why they're paying you money in the first place, right? And so whether the advice is given through a 60-minute one-on-one, a 10-minute voice memo, a 15-hour course, an 800 PDF, it doesn't matter because these are all perceived value. Whether this has the same amount of value as this, as the same amount of value as this, as the same amount of value as this, as long as all of them point to the student taking action to get closer to the intended result. And that is the biggest mindset shift you need, right? A lot of the times, you coaches are awful at explaining the reason why you were successful to begin with. You can't conceptualize what key actions is what led you to getting success in the first place. Because you struggle with this, when you're training your students, you don't know what the most important things to tell them are in that specific situation that they're in. And so this leads you to brain dumping too much information onto them instead of just giving them the two main things that they need to focus on. And so that's why you think you're giving so much value by giving them access to you for 60 minutes every single week and just giving them a bunch of advice, when in actuality, a 10-minute voice memo just talking about the two main things that they need to do is the same equivalent of that. And I want you to really understand that before you keep watching this rest of this video. Okay. So this is what I mean in a comparison view. You're most likely doing the calendar-based coaching, right? So you onboard your student, you have the onboarding call with them, and then you check in, and then you give them some more advice, and then you check in over and over again, right? Instead, what you should do and strive to become is a progress-based coach, where you don't have any week 1, week 2 calls scheduled on your calendar. You just get your student that gets stuck to message you, diagnose their constraint, use your actual coaching knowledge so that you can figure out what the easiest and most impactful interventions are, because you've presumably have been in that position before. If not, then you probably shouldn't be coaching in the first place. But then you give that advice so that the student takes action on the few key things that they need to do, which then either they get results from it or it doesn't have the intended results that you were looking for. But nevertheless, you go back and adjust it so that inevitably your student will get stuck again and you have to do the same flywheel again. But you see how this doesn't bog you down with endless meetings and just pointless conversations with your student? Because for there to be a meeting, not only are you wasting your time, but you're wasting also another person's time, right? And so this is what you need to implement into your coaching business? You need to implement the differentiation flywheel. So you need to have a specific avatar, a specific problem, a distinct method, and credible proof, right? For us, just so I can paint this picture for you, instead of just doing software engineers, we target mid to senior software engineers that are making X amount of money, right? And over time, what we've noticed is only targeting for these people over the past 2 years. These people, we know their problem exactly what it is. They, most of the time, hate their lives because they are so smart, but they're working on such brain numbing problems. Like it doesn't get them motivated. And so they've come to the conclusion that they need to start solving the problems that they want to solve, which then we come in and build a business through that. And so that's the distinct method that we have that's gotten the results for all of our clients, right? And the credible proof is just a flywheel from this distinct method if it does work, because everybody that deploys their distinct method, they're going to get results, and then which then gives you credible proof that this distinct method works. You see another flywheel here. Okay. And so this is the main crux of it, is that instead of offering 60-minute one-on-ones or 800 PDF or 15 hours of course material, all you have to do is just diagnose people's problems in the most efficient way possible for you in actuality, so that you give this 10-minute voice note, the student takes action, the feedback on what triggered this student to take the action and get the result is going to tell you what you should do, so that next time you realize maybe you don't need the 60-minute, maybe you don't need the course, maybe you don't need to refresh your PDF file, right? And so this is the flywheel that you need to take, okay? And this is what I touched upon in the beginning. And so now, this is the easiest way I can really summarize it for you, is that you as a coach, you're a coach, you're not a marketer, right? But you have to understand that students are paying you not to get your time, right? They're paying you for a transformation, to get unstuck from their problem, to level up to where they want to be. That's what they're buying. They're not buying just to get 15 minutes with you or whatever deliverables that you have, right? Oh, wrong tab. There you go. And so remember, students buy the transformation from you, not deliverables or nor your time, right? The greatest coaches, they don't deliver like the most amount of things to students. Like, in fact, you'll see the top coaches, most of the time, they've set up their coaching business so well that most of their time is just going back to sales, marketing, content. They don't really deliver that much time to the students because they're just so good at the information that they need to tell the students, right? And so great coaches don't deliver the most. They just identify to the students what matters the most and the solutions that apply to it, okay?